Welcome to FOAMUS. In this video, I'd like to go through the diesel module. The diesel module is the first module which now starts drawing data together from all the modules. It is a very complex and quite a detailed module. So basically, we start by adding the diesel distribution data. I've got some test data here. Essentially, you would select your bowser. You can have fixed tanks, okay, or movable bowsers, and you can also issue diesel from one to the other, so that's not a problem. The data on this capture form is normally captured by date, okay, by bowser, so it would be literally the diesel book for that tank, okay. The rest is quite self-explanatory. You would have a meter start, meter end, giving you the number of liters that have been issued, who it was received by, the driver of that vehicle. If it's a bowser, we would put in the recipient meter reading. If it's a vehicle, we would put in the odometer reading. You would then put in the recipient odometer reading, the attended time, which then also creates a timestamp, system timestamp for the entry. Okay. With regards to your purchases, you would capture your invoices here, as well as return debits. This, when you update that, would actually post into Pastel. You've got the option of either posting into a batch or posting directly into the system. And this would then update your diesel information in Pastel, the quantity, the price, and if there's discounts. It's identical to the Pastel invoice, okay? Should you want to make adjustments to the diesel, you would then utilize journals, and you can adjust quantities in the tanks, individual tanks, using the journals. These journals would also be posted through to Pastel where applicable. In other words, if you were to do just overall stock quantities. Okay, right. So that's your data capture for diesel. The diesel reports themselves, you've got a number of different reports. The first one are stock reports, so that you can go down and have a look at the diesel for a period. Let's use something right at the beginning with less processing time. So the stock report would give you your receipts, your issues, a movement figure. It would then have a look at any entries and use the timestamps to give you any, make an adjustment for any receipts or issues. After the timestamp of the dip reading for that day, in this case there wasn't one, and we can see we've got a variance here of 161 liters. Likewise for your mobile browser, receipts, issues, etc. Okay, if we had to run it, there's no opening stock for this, because it was March and we started in March, but it would also bring in the opening stock from the previous period. Okay. The company stock is similar, but the top-end report will give you an overall stock figure, which would normally balance with the Pastel figure. And then after that, you can drill down to detail. Okay? So you can go through and have a look at all your information. You can go and have a look at what had, what was issued to FAR 4 for that period that you run the report, and it gives you hours and kilometers. It even gives you a bit of a consumption report on that. Okay. Oops, sorry. Okay. In addition, we do have some graphical reports here. Let's run from the 15th of the March 14 to the 15th of the 4th 14. And this will just give you a diesel flow In other words, a variation of your stock figures compared to your actual dip readings as well. Okay, so it gives you all your information on your tanks, and then also an overall one for the company in general, which is identical. Okay. Right, if you were to become a little bit more traditional and have a look at it in terms of what the diesel book looks like, you can actually go and have a look at this, which is really a replica of your physical diesel book. And it will just show you exactly what has happened with that specific bowser. Okay. Then we start getting into the more complicated reports. Which are your consumption reports. And this will give you a detailed consumption with comparative consumptions to your targets. So you can have a look and see how your machines are operating. It gives you a cost. The cost is derived from the average cost price in Pastel for the period that you're running the report. So again, this is where it integrates now between your actual working hours. It brings in your diesel cost from Pastel, and it gives you a very comprehensive little cost report per activity here. So you can have a look at all your machines. Again, this is a drill down report, so you can go into more detail on that specific machine, have a look at when it received the diesel, what time, all that sort of thing. Again, it gives you a consumption figure here, but this is now becomes on a daily basis or per full time, so that's not the most accurate consumption figure that I would rely on anyway. What also happens is that you've got a little report here which gives you your odometers for a period or between two dates. So you can see exactly what your machines have worked, what the odometer readings were at a specific point in time. Generally, this is the maximum odometer reading for the period which you've chosen. Now, what the diesel also does is it is integrated, so you can have up to 5 companies integrated. The reason we did this is because we found that sometimes harvesting companies do have multiple companies, but their diesel is shared in a manner that they have vehicles which will fill up at one company and then fill up with the other, etc., etc. Then just to give an idea of diesel distribution, which won't work with this one because there's a single company involved, you have this which will tell you exactly what vehicles have received diesel from which company, which is quite a nice little report. In spite of that, let's run one anyway. If we look at for March, and we run that. Now this is a bit of leftover from some clients' data and the dummy data. But what would actually happen is you can see everything's allocated to FOMAS because this company is not integrated with these. But essentially, if you'd received diesel from other companies, it would then give you a total and the split per company of where that diesel came from in these columns here. Again, as I say, this allows for up to 5 companies. I am looking at expanding that to more companies, but we'll see in the next version what happens there. Okay, so that gives you an idea of the diesel group distribution report. In addition, you can drill down, and that will give you all the details that value is made up of. Okay. So we can see the 8608 there, which is the 8608 there. Okay. Right, that sorts out the diesel distribution. Your diesel system information is just where you set up your browsers, your capacities, all that sort of thing, which you'll see is important later. In addition, any company has got the situation where you're going to have vehicles which are not owned by the company putting diesel. For that reason, we have a guest vehicle registration so that you can actually fill in the details for the vehicles. Okay, and then of course there's diesel attendance, which is self-explanatory. Right, I think that gives you a quick synopsis of the diesel module itself. In short, it gives you usage, it gives you consumption figures, it tells you where the diesel has been used, by what,